Royal Rumble match is incredibly important because it sets the pace for the rest of WWE programming for that year. And that's because the winner of the men's or the women's Royal Rumble match will inevitably be at the top of the card for the rest of that year. So for many fans, it is incredibly important that the WWE make the right decision in terms of who should win the Royal Rumble. And I will say that the WWE, for the most part, has been pretty good at picking the right winner. However, sometimes they kind of fumble. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to look at the last 20 Royal Rumble winners, and we're going to determine whether that was the right choice, or if it wasn't, who should have won. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're going to like this channel because we upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's jump into it. Now, hang on. Before we jump into it, I just want to mention that if I don't think it needs fixing, I'm not going to try and force fix it. If they made the right call, I'm going to call it what it is. They made the right call. All right, now let's jump into it. So the year is 2003, and the winner of that year's Royal Rumble was Brock Lesnar, and this was undoubtedly the perfect choice because Brock Lesnar was in an absolute roll. He was steamrolling through the entirety of the WWE, beating legend after legend after legend, becoming the youngest WWE champion in history. I mean, like, if you were gonna cap like the greatest rookie year of all time, you might as well cap it with the Royal Rumble and then into a WrestleMania main event. This was undoubtedly the perfect choice, and I wouldn't change anything about this Royal Rumble. Obviously, it'd be curious, like with the power of hindsight, whether or not the WWE would give Lesnar this mega push knowing that he would leave for the NFL and the UFC in the future. It's just food for thought, but obviously in that moment in time, Lesnar was far and away the best choice. 2004 is a bit of a sensitive topic, and the reason why it's a sensitive topic is because the winner of that year's Royal Rumble is Chris Benoit. Now, I'm gonna look at this from both perspectives because there's people that believe that Chris Benoit should be erased from the history books in any way, shape, or form, and then there's the other camp that believes that they can separate the art from the actual horrible individual. So if you're able to separate the art from the individual, then I think it's fair to say that Benoit was the right choice. He was a workhorse that was there day in, day out, had been putting in so much work to finally get to that point. And the WWE in that moment in time was moving into an era where they were giving these smaller guys that were technically proficient an opportunity to be at the top of the card, like Eddie Guerrero. However, if you're of the camp that he should be erased from memory in any way, shape, or form, I'm not going to try and talk you out of that. Like, that's your opinion. If that's the case, I would say that the correct winner would have been Kurt Angle. I mean, Kurt Angle went on to face Eddie Guerrero for the WWE Championship anyway. He's one of those individuals where his only glaring feat of accomplishment in professional wrestling is not winning the Royal Rumble. So I'll give you both of those, and I think that's a fair discussion to have. 2005, don't touch it. Don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Batista winning was absolutely the right choice. Funnily enough, I think they had the right choice in the final two, and they ended up eliminating each other in a tie, and then they ended up having to redo it again. Batista and John Cena, these were the clear 1-2 next megastars of the WWE. I think they chose right because they had a better story for Batista in terms of going after Triple H. I think there was a better story in place than what they had for John Cena ultimately. What's interesting to note is that this spot was originally for Randy Orton, but the WWE felt like Randy wasn't ready and the crowd wanted Batista instead. So don't touch this. This is a perfect Royal Rumble. 2006 has me a little bit conflicted because really the choice to have Rey Mysterio win was admittedly done purely because of the death of Eddie Guerrero. Now, had Eddie not passed away, I don't think that it should have been Rey Mysterio. I feel like you could have gone a bunch of different ways in terms of who could have won the Royal Rumble. However, like, it's the reality that we're dealing with. And the reality was that one of the greatest WWE superstars of all time, one of the most beloved WWE superstars of all time, did pass away. And the WWE decided to make a story out of it. I know there's a lot of people that felt a little bit uneasy with it, especially with the side of Randy Orton and the horrible things that he was saying. However, that's the choice that the WWE made. And if you're gonna have an awful human being like Randy Orton on screen saying those terrible things, I think it's appropriate to have the underdog hero, the best friend of Eddie Guerrero, be the one to vanquish that awful individual. So I'm gonna say that this was the right choice based on the circumstances that they dealt with back in 2006. 2007, honestly, don't don't touch it. I think it's great that The Undertaker won. I think it was a great notch on the belt of an incredibly historic WWE career. I think maybe you could have made the case for a couple of other people like Edge. Edge also did have a fantastic run in this year's Royal Rumble, but I'm entirely okay with the choice to have The Undertaker here. Plus, it gave us The Undertaker versus Batista, which was an absolutely fantastic and highly underrated World Heavyweight Championship and streak match. 2008 is a really fascinating year because the winner ended up being John Cena, and with the context that we have, which is John Cena, the biggest WWE superstar at the time, somebody that at this moment hadn't won a Royal Rumble, somebody that came back from a freak injury like 8 months faster than they should have. Of course, that is the perfect person to win the Rumble. However, I do ask the question, what if John Cena was just a regular human being and didn't come back for this Rumble, which could have been entirely plausible? If that was the case, I probably would have given it to Triple H, because, I mean, they could have just done Triple H Randy instead of Triple H Randy Cena. So again, I'll just toss that out there, but Cena was definitely the right choice because Cena's an absolute animal for coming back that quickly. 2009, don't touch it. I think it was great that Randy Orton won. He was the top heel in the company, and he was by far the best choice to win this year's Royal Rumble. There's no need to try and mess with this one. Similar to 2009, Edge winning, I think, was the right choice. I think you might be able to make the case for Shawn Michaels, especially if you were watching at that moment in time, because this is when Shawn Michaels was trying to win the Royal Rumble for the sake of having one more time at The Undertaker. However, Shawn Michaels ended up getting eliminated, and a lot of people were pretty bummed out about that. However, WWE did a fantastic job of getting Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker to happen anyway, so everything kind of just worked out perfectly either way. But at the time, I wanted, and I think a lot of people wanted Shawn Michaels, but they told such a wonderful story of like the struggle to get back to where he wanted to be, so I'm entirely okay with Edge winning this. Would you like more wrestling content? Then go check out patreon.com/SantiZap, where you're gonna get even more wrestling content like my Raw reviews, NXT reviews, SmackDown reviews. You're gonna get my podcast 3 days earlier than everyone else, and the monthly mailbag. So go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap. Patreon.com/SantiZap. It will be the top link in the description or the pinned comment. 2011 might be the most annoying Royal Rumble ever because it's like the 40-man Royal Rumble match, which on paper should tell you that this could have been the greatest Royal Rumble match. However, those extra 10 slots were pretty much just filled with extra jobbers, so it didn't really do anything to add those extra 10 people. The winner was Alberto Del Rio. Admittedly, Alberto Del Rio was clearly seen as one of the top heels in the company, so I understand the WWE wanting to give it to Alberto Del Rio. He also gave a strong foothold in that Mexican market, which is really valuable for the WWE. However, if they wanted a top heel to win this, it shouldn't have been Alberto Del Rio. It should have been the best heel of that year. It should have been the leader of the new Nexus, CM Punk. Let's not forget that that year's WrestleMania, we ended up getting The Miz versus John Cena in the main event. It should have been CM Punk versus John Cena. CM Punk was far and away the most entertaining heel and would have been given a fantastic match with Cena. I mean, we saw what they did at Money in the Bank. They ended up putting on a fantastic match. Imagine had we gotten that on a huge stage like WrestleMania 27. That main event might have been able to save the travesty that was WrestleMania 27. 2012 is admittedly a tough pill to swallow, and that's because I like Sheamus, and Sheamus was the winner of this Royal Rumble. However, it made no sense for him to win this Royal Rumble match. It should have been Chris Jericho. The reason it should have been Chris Jericho was because Chris Jericho had just come back from a fairly lengthy hiatus from the WWE. He was doing this character where he wasn't talking to anybody. He only said a couple of words right before the Rumble, which was, "This Sunday at the Royal Rumble, the world will end," or something along the lines of that. Chris Jericho was the last person eliminated. Here's the thing. Here's what's interesting. After the Royal Rumble, after Sheamus won, it felt like Chris Jericho was the Rumble winner because he got the awesome feud with CM Punk. Meanwhile, Sheamus got that what somewhat felt like a throwaway feud against Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 28. So much so that it was a 18-second match. So I still feel like Jericho got the treatment as if he won the Royal Rumble, so why not have him actually win the Royal Rumble? 2013 was just a weird Royal Rumble. Look, I know I'm a big Cena fanboy, fully acknowledged, by the way. I get it. I understand if you don't want to listen to this opinion. I still think this is the right choice. I didn't think that it was the best booked Royal Rumble, but the thing is that the context in which we were in, which was clearly setting up Cena versus Rock again, the only way that we get there is by having Cena win this Royal Rumble. So the reason why we got to this point is because WWE pigeonholed themselves to a corner where the only logical Royal Rumble winner was John Cena. Look, listen, I know a lot of people back then wanted Ryback to win. I'm telling you, that was a blessing in disguise that Ryback didn't win. Cena was the right call, though I understand any frustration with this booking. 2014 is the one we can all agree on, right? This is the one that Batista won, and god damn it do I feel bad for Batista. He did not get enough love for his second run in the WWE, a run that, yeah, did see him win the Royal Rumble. It did see him get booed out of the building. It did see him get booed out of every building. But let's not forget, this guy put over Daniel Bryan by tapping out. He tapped out to a guy like a quarter of his size. Batista is a man of the business ultimately. However, he should not have won this Royal Rumble. Maybe he should have. Maybe he should have had the context in the world of the WWE been different. But unfortunately, I think the situation is that Batista was maybe the right guy at the wrong time, because Daniel Bryan was far and away the biggest name in professional wrestling at this time, a name that became huge organically as opposed to being forced to us. And I think that's why people turned on Batista, because it felt like the corporate choice that was being put in front of us that we clearly did not ask for. We were all clearly clamoring for this guy, Daniel Bryan, and they chose to go the other way, hence why Batista got booed out of the building, and hence why ultimately they had to retcon things and put Daniel Bryan into that main event. A main event he was not going to be part of if we weren't loud as we were. 2015 might lead to a little bit of debate. Look, I get Roman Reigns winning. I understand from like a corporate side of things. This is the guy that's the second coming of Cena. This is the guy that the WWE decided that he is going to be at the top of the mountain. However, look, the problem was how horribly booked this Rumble was. It just did not do any services for Roman Reigns. It put him in a position where the only logical crowd reaction was to get booed out of the freaking building in that Philadelphia arena. And yeah, cool, like the WrestleMania 31 match against Brock Lesnar ended up being fun. However, sorry to say it, Daniel Bryan again. Look, Daniel Bryan came back from that injury that threatened his career like a couple of weeks before the Rumble, and it was confusing as to why they did that. It wouldn't be confusing had it been because they wanted him to win the Royal Rumble, something that they should have done the year prior, but didn't. However, not only did he not win the Royal Rumble, he got eliminated fairly unceremoniously and fairly quickly, to the point where once he was eliminated, the next person up was Goldust, and the Titantron said, "Shattered dreams." 2016 is a frustrating Royal Rumble because it was all just one storyline being told, that being the storyline of the Authority versus Roman Reigns. What does that mean? That means that everyone else in this Rumble, aside from Triple H and Roman Reigns, didn't fucking matter. That's just the truth. Those are the only two people that mattered in this Royal Rumble. However, there was a moment, a glimpse, where we thought that we might actually see a little bit of a swerve and WWE would give us Dean Ambrose. The people were loving the idea of Dean Ambrose potentially winning this because no one really picked him as a potential winner until he was in the final few there. And I think had Dean Ambrose won, this is how we could have gotten inevitably to that Shield triple threat match. And ultimately, it's something that we never got, but it could have happened had Dean Ambrose won. 2017 was the year that Randy Orton won, and this was really convoluted. Also, I'm starting to realize that we're on a streak of me changing the winners here. We went through a nasty stretch of Royal Rumbles there. Look, I love Randy Orton. He's one of my favorites of all time, one of my top fives. He's one of the GOATs for me. However, I just don't think that this was the right call. I actually think I could have picked 2 or 3 different people that would have been better choices for Randy Orton. Frankly, the best choice, which Clearly, the WWE had no intention of making this a special thing. Should have been Chris Jericho, because they were telling this fantastic story between best friends Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, where they definitely should have faced for the Universal Championship at the time at WrestleMania. I don't know why. WWE just didn't see them as a big enough draw, and they had Kevin Owens drop the championship right before WrestleMania to Goldberg to give us Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. Again, granted, that was actually a pretty fun match, weirdly. I don't hate that match. However, they had been telling this such a great story with the list, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, the Festival of Friendship. This was, to me, the best logical option that year. Plus, after having missed on Chris Jericho for the better part of like 2 decades worth of Royal Rumbles, I think this could have been a nice little send-off, really. 2018 ended up being Shinsuke Nakamura, and I wouldn't change this. I would change what they did with him after winning, but this was a really awesome victory for Nakamura. It was really cool to see the WWE giving this type of victory, one to an international superstar, but also a superstar that they didn't necessarily build because he made his name in New Japan. So it really spoke to maybe the outlook and the future of the WWE, really treating NXT Black and Gold as this fantastic feeding system to make megastars. Obviously, none of that ended up being the case. They basically buried Nakamura right after winning this Royal Rumble. But again, still, it was the right choice. It was everything that happened afterwards that was wrong. 2019 was also the year that we had the Women's Royal Rumble start. And just like Nakamura, I wouldn't change a thing. Asuka was a perfect champion. She was undefeated. She was scary. She had this aura. I mean, the chant was, "Asuka's gonna kill you." Again, just like Nakamura, I wouldn't change anything. I would just change what happened afterwards. I wouldn't have had her lose to Charlotte at WrestleMania. 2019 to me is a simple one. I wouldn't touch Seth Rollins winning. I think this was a very good choice. And I definitely would not touch Becky Lynch winning. This was the most important choice that they made for that year's Royal Rumble. She would go on to main event WrestleMania, first ever women's Royal main event at WrestleMania ever. Don't touch 2019. 2019 was a solid year for Rumble winners. 2020 is the year that gave us Drew McIntyre winning. And if you even think about changing this, I will come fight you. This is a perfect Royal Rumble, one of the best Royal Rumbles of all time, and one of the best winners that we could have possibly had. Now, the Women's Royal Rumble, I would change. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Charlotte. I think I like her more than most hardcore wrestling fans because a lot of people have just turned on her recently. That's not me. However, they didn't need to give this to Charlotte. Look, I get wanting to give the Royal Rumble at this time to your biggest name, especially because the Women's Royal Rumble was just starting to get off the ground. It's only the 3rd ever Rumble. However, it should have been Shayna Baszler, considering how scary and badass and how hard she was being pushed at the time. Hell, I mean, like right afterwards, she still ended up getting a WrestleMania quasi-main event versus Becky Lynch at that year's WrestleMania, and they had her do it by eliminating everyone at the Elimination Chamber. So if you're gonna have her be this badass anyway, just have her win the Rumble and have Charlotte win the Elimination Chamber. You could have still gotten to where you wanted to go without, sacrificing Shayna Baszler at the Royal Rumble when she was at her hottest. 2021 might raise a debate. We might be in disagreement here. However, I don't think that it should have been Edge to win this Royal Rumble. And the reason I say this is because Edge at this moment is admittedly well past his prime. He wasn't a full-time WWE superstar. He was taking breaks. So I just don't think that he was the right call. I do get it. He returned from that long retirement and then had that injury and then came back from that injury, won the Royal Rumble. I just don't think it's the right choice because I think the right call was Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley was hot. This is like prime Hurt Business. Plus on top of that, right after this, he would win the WWE Championship anyway and go into WrestleMania as the champion defending against Drew McIntyre. So, I mean, you already had plans to push Bobby to the top of the card. I think he should have won the Royal Rumble instead. 2021 also gave us Bianca Belair as the Women's Royal Rumble winner. Don't touch this. I actually think this is perfect. Oh my God, the dreaded 2022 Royal Rumble. I would change just about everything here. Let's start with the Men's Royal Rumble match that was won by Brock Lesnar for some weird asinine reason, because to this day, it still doesn't make sense that he would lose his WWE Championship earlier in the night, win the Rumble, then win the WWE Championship next month, and take the WWE Championship into a unification match. absolutely asinine. Look, there's a couple of people that I think I would choose well before Brock Lesnar. I think Big E could have been a really great choice here. This is the guy that had lost his WWE Championship somewhat unceremoniously. I think that you could have used the Rumble to rebuild him back up, to have him continue to be a main event player, because they really completely removed them from the main event scene after losing that WWE Championship, which is not good. You want megastars. You want to build those megastars forever. You don't just want to have megastars temporarily. So I would have chosen to rebuild Big E with that championship aura going into WrestleMania as a Royal Rumble winner. The other choice would have been AJ Styles. AJ Styles had a great Rumble this year, only to be eliminated by Madcap Moss for some ungodly weird reason. I think AJ would have been a great choice as a Rumble winner this year as well. The Women's Royal Rumble also had a pretty weird booking. Look, I get Ronda Rousey winning. She's legit, blah, 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 blah. I understand. However, Sasha Banks was right there, and she had like the most iconic Rumble look ever in their Sailor Moon outfit. It was right there. Look, you could have had 3 of the 4 horsewomen as Royal Rumble winners like that, but you chose Ronda Rousey. And you didn't even have her go face Becky Lynch. You had her pick Charlotte. In 2023, although I didn't think that they were very surprising winners, sometimes it is okay for 2 + 2 to equal 4. You don't need to get crazy and Vince Russo-y here. 2023 saw Cody Rhodes win. That's the right choice. Came in at number 30 from the injury, top babyface, makes sense to me. Same with Rhea Ripley. She was just so dominant going into this Women's Royal Rumble that, yes, she was an obvious pick. Sure, it was logical, but sometimes logical is fine, guys. It doesn't have to get crazy. All right, y'all, that's it. Tell me what you think I got wrong, what you would change. The comment section here is a safe place, so go ahead and sound off. But that's it. I'm done. Get out of here.